Welcome to another episode of Bavarian Redline. And if you happen to be watching this on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch today's video. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're not going to be wrenching on something on the channel. We're going to be talking about what we think are the 3 best BMWs currently on the market that you could go out and buy right now. Now, these are all BMWs that I've owned previously, so I have some firsthand knowledge, and I plan on showing some photos of the cars and kind of talking a little bit about the ownership experience. And no, they are not an E90 and they are not an F10. Those are not in the top 3 list of what I'd recommend, so you're gonna have to stay tuned to find out. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're not already subscribed, please go hit that subscribe button. Today's video is all about the 3 best BMWs on the market, in my opinion, obviously. Now, I'm not just talking about the fastest nor the most unique BMWs. I'm talking about what I think are some of the best cars from not only an ownership perspective, but also in terms of their ownership experience and where they currently sit in the market. All these cars that we'll be talking about today are BMWs that I've personally owned in the last 10 years or that I currently own. While I'm not an expert and have never claimed to be an expert, I have been a BMW enthusiast for the past 10 years, in which time I've owned over 40 different BMWs in different chassis, all the way from the E38 all the way up to current generation M's. Now, I'll try to show you as many photos and clips as we go along of the cars that I've had and the ownership experiences I've had with those cars in the past. Let's start with number 3 on my list of the best BMWs to buy right now. Now, if you'd like to make any guesses as to what number 3 might be, feel free to pause the video and go ahead and comment below. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button for more German car content. So, number 3 on my top 3 list is, believe it or not, the current generation G80, G82 chassis, M3 and M4, but preferably in the base trim with a 6-speed manual configuration. Now, we could spend lots of time talking about the kitty grills or talking about the positives like the S58 motor or some of the technical things that make these cars so great, but there's plenty of content out there where you can find that sort of information. In this video, I'm here to tell you why I think the G80 and the G82 are in the top 3 BMWs to buy right now. Really, the answer is pretty simple, and many of you that are enthusiasts have probably heard this before, but the truth is, you should probably hear it again. They mark the end of an era of high-performance, internal combustion, do-it-yourself manual transmission M cars. Well, them and the G87s, the new M2s. With the growth of electric and hybrid propulsion vehicles over the last few years, even die-hard manual German nameplates like the BMW or like the VW Golf GTI have announced they'll be moving away from stick shifts. There's something to be said about such a sweet mixture between modern tech and styling and the analog make-your-own-decision visceral experience you get from a G80 chassis M car. Obviously, I practice what I preach because I currently own a G80 M3 and a 6-speed. You guys have probably seen in the foreground of so many videos. The only reason it's not here right now, as some of you may know, is because it's at the shop, and I'll touch on that in a future video. But absolutely love the G83 or G80. I think it's a great chassis. And I think that even with relatively high production numbers for these cars, as the hybrid M's come out, if you've seen some of the M SUVs, no manual option is going to make a true enthusiast gravitate towards the snarl-nosed G80 and the wonderfully well-balanced experience they provide. I think we've seen so far in the last couple of years since they came out that they're probably going to hold a little more steady than the F80 chassis or the E90 chassis, because people kind of understand that this is the last option to get a car like this, and I think that's going to make it a lot more desirable. With the G80 kind of out of the way as number 3 on the list of the best 3 BMWs to buy right now, let's talk about number 2. Now, not everybody wants to or can spend G80 or G82 money, especially in this inflated market. So the other cars on this list should be able to appeal to more folks. That's part of the reason I placed it at number 3. Now, number 2 is near and dear to my heart because they're what actually introduced me to the brand so many years ago. If you want to take a guess, feel free. It's actually the E39 generation, which is oftentimes coveted as the best generation of the E39 or of BMWs in general. More specifically, I'm talking about the 540s if you can get a 6-speed manual transmission, or of course the E39 M5. of which all were manuals. This one gets me really excited because they're what I consider the last of their old school German muscle car. You drive a V8, you really get to drive the car. You get to work with the hydraulic steering, to do your own rev matching, and feel the experience of what truly makes these one of the best German cars ever made. And I'm not the only one that says that. If you do a little research out there, a lot of folks like to support the E39 chassis. I'd also be willing to make the argument that they're kind of at rock bottom. They're never going to be worth a whole lot less than they are now, especially the M5. They kind of already bottomed 5 to 6 years ago. Look at what happened with the E30 or the E34s or countless other classic BMWs that came out of Bavaria. With that said, there are a few modern BMWs like the E39 that are comfortable, drivable, usable, and relatively available that are likely to actually appreciate. Pretty much all the other BMWs in the market are a depreciating asset. I mean, you're going to lose money on them, and that's just a fact. With an E39, you can still get a relatively modern car that's likely to hold its value while you own it. I mean, another reason why they're great is because an average garage mechanic like me, if you've seen some of the other videos, can actually take care of the car. Parts availability is great as far as I consider. You can get lots of aftermarket stuff for these cars: headlights, taillights, body kits, aftermarket performance stuff, and it's all relatively cheap. It's easy to find. You can go down to your local auto parts store and get that kind of stuff. I got my first E39 over 10 years ago, and I would estimate I've owned over 20 of them in varying configurations: 6 speeds, automatics, all the way from the 97 pre-Vanos models all the way to the 2003 M Sport models. I'm a huge fan of the E39 chassis. I think they're timeless. I think they're wonderful cars. I think it's hard to beat the driver's experience. So when you combine that with the fact that they're in a period of time right now where I think they're going to continue to appreciate and be worth more and more, it makes them almost a no-brainer kind of decision. Well, if you've made it this far, and we got through the first two, the G80 and the E39, I want to take some serious time to talk about what I think the best BMW that's currently on the market is. And a lot of you might be able to guess, and a lot of you probably agree with me. I'm not necessarily going with the status quo. I'm following, like I said at the beginning of the video, what is my opinion the best M car on the market. And it's pretty plain and simple. It's the E46 M3, the non-SMG manual car. Preferably a hardtop and not a convertible. And we're going to touch on that with the car since we've got it here. Didn't have a G80 or an E39 here, but since we've got the E46 M3, we're going to do a quick walk around with the car and talk about why I think that is the best BMW you can buy right now in 2023. Thanks for watching. So this is it, the #1 M car, in my opinion, currently on the market. And not this one specifically. There's a myriad of different E46 M3s for sale out there. I think this is the best M car you can buy right now for a number of reasons. All the same things that I talked about really with both of the cars. It combines both what's great about the G80 in a sense and what's great about the E39. It's mostly analog like the E90. It still doesn't have a ton of technology, or not the E90, excuse me. It's mostly analog like the E39. Doesn't have a ton of technology. Has a 6-speed manual transmission. It's small, it's light. You guys have heard these things before if you've been looking for any of these cars in the past. It's a great car to drive. It's a great car to own for the same reasons I talked about with the E39. Maintenance is not too crazy. There's some things you got to worry about, just like there's a couple things you got to worry about with the E39. It's probably going to leak because it's an older BMW, but for the most part, you can take care of these cars yourself. They're relatively affordable and they're bound to appreciate. And if you've never driven one, do yourself a favor. Being able to rev over 8,000 RPM, shift through the gears in a light 32 some odd 100-pound car, it's killer. And to be honest with you, that's the reason why we got one. I currently have a G80. I also have some E39s that unfortunately are not here in Florida, and most of them need quite a bit of work. So I hope to have one of those on the channel soon. And thank you guys so much for watching the video and hearing a little bit about why I think these couple cars are the best options right now in the market for BMWs. We've got #3, in my opinion, the G80 6-speed manual transmission. #2, you have the E39 chassis, preferably an M5 with a 6-speed manual. If it's not an M5, E39 540i with a 6-speed manual, or number one in the market, in my opinion, both in terms of appreciation, driver's experience, ownership experience, reliability, all the above. I think it's the E46 M3, especially if you can get a coupe and you can get a manual transmission and try to get one that's in a little better shape than mine. But there's tons of them out there and you might even make money on the car. Thanks so much for watching.
We hope everyone has a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching. Bye.